Sunday afternoon, May 8th. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. Regional weather synopsis for the Midwest, the South Central states, along with other parts of the country. A high-pressure ridge developed over Texas over the past couple of days, along with an upper-level ridge or a mid-level ridge, will be moving into the Midwest and set itself up right along the Mississippi River Valley. This ridge will reach peak intensity on Wednesday, right over the St. Louis area, along with the Chicago area, including other states as well. This high pressure is going many, many miles up into the atmosphere, which will likely produce a suppression of clouds and precipitation. There still does remain a slight chance for thunderstorms late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning for some locations, but the chances are quite slim. Right around the ridge, there is expected to be continuous thunderstorm development, and complexes that develop especially in the upper Midwest will move southeast, and they are expected to dissipate before reaching the Chicago area. There is a possibility that they might not dissipate, or at least one of them might not. Another area of thunderstorm complex will develop in the Texas area, especially as the ridge moves away from that area. Texas saw record heat yesterday, 112 degrees in Rio Grande Village, Texas. Heat advisories were issued for today as temperatures soared above 105 degrees again. Dallas-Fort Worth seeing highs in the mid and upper 90s with some humidity and breezy conditions. There's also severe fire weather hazards to an extreme level over much of New Mexico and West Texas as well. Record heat is expected over many of the states here in the Midwest due to this high-pressure ridge. The high-pressure ridge produces heating by compressional warming. The air is really warm aloft, and there's a lot of pressure that pushes down on the air, causing the air to be reduced, but it releases its energy, which gets translated into an increase in temperatures. That, in combination with sunshine and south winds, will be responsible for bringing record heat to the St. Louis area. Sometimes there are also winds that blow off the Ozark Plateau, which increase temperatures in the St. Louis area by a few degrees. Kansas City, Missouri will also be seeing record heat with temperatures in the low 90s. Other places in Missouri and Iowa, along with places to the south, especially in Arkansas, will be seeing highs in the lower and sometimes even mid-90s, but generally lower 90s. Either way, record heat is expected. Many of these records are from 75 to 100 years ago. For example, Quincy, Illinois, Hannibal, Missouri. Record from 1895. One of these days, it's expected to be broken. The weather pattern that the Midwest will be under this week is called a omega block. This is the same weather pattern that brought the Northwest Pacific heat wave, and also the heights of the upper level ridge resemble the heights of the Northwest Pacific heat wave as well, along with the 1995 heat wave, the 2012 heat wave in July, and the 2012 heat wave in March. It's actually in the record territory for this time of the year, and it's an almost record for any time of the year. This type of a weather pattern consists of a cut-off low, a low-pressure system, and a low-pressure trough that's on the East Coast, or actually moved on to the Atlantic, but it's cut off from the jet stream. This means the system no longer is moving from west to east, or if it is, it's moving very slowly. In this case, the system's actually going to start to turn backwards towards the end of the week. As it does so, the ridge will no longer be squeezed in between the two troughs. Therefore, the ridge is going to flatten and therefore weaken, but still remain strong. Areas to the east of the Mississippi River will see slightly lower temperatures. Parts of the Chicago area will most likely hit 90 degrees. The forecast for West Rogers Park in Chicago is extra complicated because there is no westerly component to the south wind most of the time. That's not expected as of now. In St. Louis, many of the days will consist of a southwest flow. In Chicago, it's generally a south flow, sometimes even a southeast flow. If you don't have a western component to the south wind, the lake breeze tends to take over, especially when it's hot outside. The hot air rises inland, and that encourages air to come in off the lake. It's specifically because it's so hot. That's why West Rogers Park might end up being so cool during the afternoon. Temperatures in the Chicago area may get really warm early in the afternoon, and many places may stay warm the remainder of the day. West Rogers Park has a good chance, at least probably Wednesday, and perhaps other days as well, for temperatures to drop drastically to lower levels. Hopefully remain pleasant in the 70s, but historically speaking, climatologically speaking, it has not always been that way. Even if the temperatures do drop in the afternoon, temperatures warm right back up at night, and the following morning it's warm again. So warm days in West Rogers Park from the morning through midday, maybe even a little bit after midday, and then there's a questionable period for the afternoon and evening. The mid-Atlantic and the southeast parts of the United States will be under a north flow due to this low pressure trough and low pressure system off the western Atlantic. However, the system will be off the seaboard far enough that the clouds will be taken with it. Sunshine will prevail and temperatures will still be nice even in the mid-Atlantic area. A couple more very unique things about the weather pattern this week. The Gulf Coast will be influenced by this cool and dry high pressure in New England as that thing gets squeezed either north or south of this low pressure system, south of the low pressure system, which is going backwards to northern Florida, and it actually goes into Louisiana. It goes underneath us. A very strange thing, but the dew points will be lower in Louisiana than they are in the Midwest. Water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico are between 77 and 81 degrees. Normally that would produce dew points between 67 and 71 degrees along the Gulf Coast, and that's in fact what they probably will be until they get influenced by this drier air. Record heat is expected even in Louisiana on Tuesday, possibly Wednesday as well. As the south flow flows over flooding, which has taken place in the Midwest, there's different approaches between the computer models as to how high the dew points will be. Some of the computer models, which are not available to the public, are forecasting dew points to be between 65 and 70, and that's generally what the forecasters from the National Weather Service and forecasters in general are forecasting. The computer models which are available to the public show dew points going up into the mid-70s. The Kansas City National Weather Service explained with good logic as to why dew points would be so high, and that's because of the floods. If dew points do go into the mid-70s, borderline heat advisory criteria is possible in the St. Louis area, especially Wednesday or Tuesday or Thursday. The European computer model that's available to the public through windy.com indicates dew point may hit 77 degrees in parts of the St. Louis area Wednesday evening. The National Weather Service forecasts indicate that dew points may approach 70 degrees, but not too much higher than that. A dew point of 77 degrees generally makes the temperature feel about 14 degrees warmer than they actually are. That will be taking place at a time when temperatures are in the upper 80s, bringing the heat index to about 100 or 102. The official forecast from the National Weather Service is not forecasting dew points to be that high. The heat indices to be that high, they should remain in the mid-90s. If dew points do become that high, that is record-breaking humidity for this time of the year. And it's something which is going to be quite difficult to do considering we do not have the corn crop yet. Another city which is dealing with its own complications and clarity in an accurate forecast is Minneapolis. But even Minneapolis should hit 90 degrees by the time Thursday comes along. Temperatures were well into the 80s today. At least they were forecasted to be. Temperatures will likely go back well into the 80s on Wednesday. Since the front around is separating the cooler air from the warmer air, its position is being determined by thunderstorms. It's difficult at times to figure out exactly where that front will be, and could be difficult to forecast the temperatures for Minneapolis. Fronts in a blocking weather pattern tend to be influenced more by the outflow of the thunderstorms than anything else. Any thunderstorms that do develop could very easily push the front south of the city. By Thursday, a low pressure system, a strong storm system along the plains right east of the Rockies will bring a lot more momentum to the warm front and help push the whole thing north regardless of thunderstorms. Two low pressure systems, strong low pressure systems, will be developing just east of the Rockies this week. The first one in the beginning of the week and the second one towards the end of the week or the mid part of the week. Both of these storm systems will be responsible for increasing the south flow since air around these storm systems move counterclockwise. The combination of the clockwise air moving around the high pressure centered just east of the Mississippi River and the counterclockwise air moving around the low pressure just east of the Rockies, the pressure gradient will intensify wind speeds and bring winds from the deep south. The south winds will also cover multiple layers in the atmosphere, not just surface winds, but the south winds will go well up into the atmosphere. Confidence is increasing that low pressure trough will move east and bring its cold front through the country. That low pressure trough will combine with the low pressure that's moving backwards onto the northern Florida area, producing one gigantic low pressure trough over much of the country. Boston, Massachusetts will be influenced by this upper level ridge. Temperatures will soar well into the 80s, and there is a potential for some counties perhaps to hit 90 degrees. Areas further to the south will be too close to this low pressure system to be so significantly influenced by the summer heat. The ridge will continue to break down, and the expectation is that we will return to an active weather pattern next week with near normal or even perhaps a continuation of above normal temperatures. One final point is any thunderstorm that does develop this week has the potential to be severe. Thank you for listening. I wish everyone a good day.